2018.
Did not taste good.
Not taste good,
No.
as a lot of us experienced for our first batch. How did you get into competing? Why the roasting competition? And how long you've been in this competition journey?
So this is year 4 for me.
Year 4.
First competition was actually prelims at Luce in not too far from here. I remember going to Boston Expo the year before, trying to figure out, originally I thought I wanted to do Brewers Cup. I was super into brewing at the time and just getting into roasting. And then, you know, the idea of being on stage with a bunch of people with clipboards around me kind of stressed me out. And I remember seeing the roasters kind of like out of sight, out of mind. I was like, I think that's a little bit more my speed. So then I remember the next year I signed up for prelims and was lucky enough to get in.
Nice.
Yeah.
And every time you competed, did you learn from the past year something that you can apply to your business operation or to the next year competition? Was it totally
Both.
different?
No, it wasn't. It was, I think I always left there. I always liked the idea of showing up with the coffee that you roasted on your own roaster.
Okay.
You know, I think it's a little bit different than showing up like here and everybody roasts on the same roaster, but everybody was in their comfort zone. You're comfortable with your, you know, on your own roaster, your own equipment, your own team of cupping, and you just show up with the coffee. People had profiles printed out, and I remember, I think you as a roaster, you get a coffee, you sample roast it, you dial it in, you're like, okay, this is the only way it can be roasted and taste the best in your mind. Mm-hmm. And then you go and you see, you know, during the audience service, you would see people have their printed out profiles, and you're like, oh, I would never do that. Or they roasted it on a sample roaster or on a popcorn popper or whatever, you know, you never know. But you taste everything and it all tastes good. And it's cool. I think it's cool to taste the same coffee 20 or 24 different ways. And you leave there going home being like, okay, it's all coffees can be roasted a little bit differently, approached differently.
So is there some misconception or things you thought? Right,
It breaks the.
You went to competition and you're like, actually changing the whatever doesn't impact as I thought it would.
It breaks all the rules that you think are there when you're first learning to roast. Because I think you need to learn like some guidelines, like just like with anything, you learn the foundation of it, and then you learn how to deviate from that for your own sake. But I think ultimately, as like a coffee roaster, it's up to you to leave your thumbprint on that coffee. And I think even when I order coffees now, I'll talk to the importer, the farmer, and be like, who else has this coffee? And I try to order that same coffee from different people around the US or something, maybe see how they're roasting it, and it's always different. Mm-hmm. So I think it's cool to taste coffee in different ways, and it just makes you think about trying different things when you get back home. Like I always come out of competition a much better roaster in the 3 days that I'm here, maybe sometimes more than like a year on my own. Mm-hmm. So I think you take a lot of things to add to your tool bag coming out of the competition weekend every time.
Definitely.
And I think that's what kind of keeps me coming back. It's, you know, the growth.
Definitely.
For sure.
And this year we had the S7X the first time. How did you approach this new machine used for the competition with a surprising Panamanian geisha, right? Because usually during roasting competition, a challenging beans is given, but this time we got super lucky to have a super nice Panamanian geisha from Savage. So how did you approach having, you know, a coffee that is the baseline is already good as it is, using a newer machine that you may not be used to?
I think it was an adjustment, adapting to the S7X compared to the Pro in the past years, having the drum heater setting. I think you're able to have more thermal stability. You can make more adjustments at the end without, when I first started on the S7 Pro, I was tanking every roast. You know, it's just very sensitive in the moment roaster when you make these changes. But I think thinking geisha, when I roast at home, I always want to enter with a much higher ROR and then kind of level it out to kind of get the bean to open up. You kind of capture a lot of those floral elements of the geisha, but then you don't want to roast it too far to kind of to introduce compounds that would more or less cover up those floral flavors. So, but then you think, oh, it's an experimental, or not experimental, but a processed coffee. You know, you hear anaerobic or anaerobic wash, or washed and then natural, or natural then washed in this case. So I think you think too, it's like, all right, well, I don't want to add a lot of high heat with coffees I roast at home, because it you hit it with high heat, it kind of brings out the harsh side of the processing sometimes. So I think I was relieved to going a little bit later in the day, seeing some of the beans hit the cooling bin and they weren't roasting as dark. So I think my original game plan was to roast with high heat, but then pull a lot of that halogen out earlier to maybe keep the beans similar in color if it were to be processed. But it almost roasts more like a washed coffee, like a washed geisha. So it was trying to figure out how to, I knew there was a lot of sweetness in this coffee too, so how do you preserve those florals but bring out a little bit more of the sweetness without covering up the florals? So I think it's a very fine line of where you need to put the coffee.
Exactly. And any favorite coffee you had this year, apart from the competition, that was memorable to you?
2 coffees from people actually in this room. One was the Nestor Lasso Secret Stash set from Tony at Goshen. I had it was a Java, anaerobic wash Java that I got at Expo. And then Green Tip Geisha from Sum at Coffee Project. So, it's funny how all things come back full circle to, some of the people here.
Exactly, and
Yep.
it's always learning, whether it's the approach or the sourcing and how things can taste different.
Yep.
Ready for 5 rounds?
Let's do it.
Okay, filter or espresso?
Filter.
Okay, high dose or low dose?
Low dose.
Light or dark?
Light.
Sweetness or acidity?
Sweetness.
Brown sweetness or white sugar?
White sugar.
Sugar cane or granulated sugar?
Sugar cane.
Body or clarity?
Clarity.
Fruity or chocolatey?
Fruity.
Strawberries or blueberries?
Strawberries. All day.
Strawberries or raspberries?
Strawberries.
Strawberries or pineapple?
Pineapple. Cold pineapple.
Pineapple or mango?
Pineapple.
Okay. Clean or wild?
Clean.
Washed or natural on Sunday evening?
Washed. Washed.
Fast or slow roast on
Fast.
Monday morning?
Fast.
Morning. High heat or gentle heat?
High heat.
High heat, so aggressive. So brisket or ribs?
Ribs.
Ribs. Convection or convection?
Wrong.
Convection.
Short development or long
Short.
development? Juicy or syrupy?
Juicy.
Halogen or drum heating?
Halogen.
Halogen. Omni roast, yeah or no? Flatbirds or conical?
Flat.
Hand grinder or electric?
Hand grinder all day.
Oh, wow. Okay, muscle. Stretching the Maillard or stretching development?
Stretching my yard.
Okay. Calcium or magnesium?
Magnesium.
Sipping or spitting?
Sipping.
Sipping, drinking a lot, still. And last but not least, New Orleans or Brussels in June?
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see in 5 minutes.
Let's taste. All right, thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you.